This is gonna be a video about the Terminator: A Resistance game, and there hasn't been a whole lot of Terminator games. And I remember there was a Terminator 3, Terminator Redemption, Terminator a Salvation, etc. But very rarely do we see a Terminator game. Now this is Terminator Resistance. It was released back in 2019, around 2019, 2020 time. So Terminator: A Resistance. Now, there's elements in the game that from a Far Cry, Fallout, Homefront, and a little bit in there from Skyrim. Now, for the most part, that in the game, you are doing stealth. Some elements include action. Other elements include, looting things, crafting things, etc. Now, you're basically using stealth, doing stealth because this game takes place like in the future timeline of Terminator. So like it's when the machines have taken over at the world and humans are being, literally executed and killed, and they have to go into hiding. So this is that game, right? So this is a very interesting, unique game. I remember Redemption had it. So Redemption is like an alternate timeline of Terminator 3. So you played as the Arnold Terminator in the future, but you are literally fighting against Skynet, right? Now this one, you are like a human fighting against machines. So you're gonna feel, outmatched. Now, the stealth in the game is very simple, like any other game with stealth. If you're familiar with it, be in cover as much as possible. Avoid a detection. Gather, important items. Follow important details, etc. These are machines, so they will detect you very quickly if you're not careful, and you will die very quickly. I want to talk about difficulty after, but the main thing is staying in cover, so you can hide behind a car or inside a building, or behind like a huge rock or under like a bridge area, etc. The machines go in a patrol. So for example, the T-800, right, or the T-825, that's the one that's like the main Terminator that's so popular, like in the franchise. But it literally goes on a patrol, walks back and forth, right? Like, obviously like a robot, but it reminds me of Horizon Zero Dawn. So Horizon Zero Dawn, where you're also fighting on machines, but you gotta go into stealth, and the machines have a certain script where they go back and forth to, right, in certain spots. One thing about Terminator that's a very fun is looting. So a lot of the game is looting. So you loot stuff to craft health items, lock picks. You can craft stuff, like bullets, etc. Looting stuff is very important for health items, especially because health items. Now in this game, you will die very quickly, but health items you gotta gather as much as you can, save them up, right, for the tight moments. Health item, it is very similar to in The Last of Us 1 or Far Cry. It's very similar to Far Cry. So you hold triangle or Y on the Xbox, and then you literally heal yourself. You heal yourself from like a wound, from like a certain injury or damage. You can also craft. So you're crafting, early on in the game, lock picking. So you lock pick areas, right? Stuff in the game. So upgrading. So you can upgrade, the inventory for your weapons. You can upgrade stuff like crafting. You can upgrade stuff like, as you upgrade stuff for weapons, for example, certain weapon, a requirement. So Skynet has weapons as well, and there are level requirements to use these weapons. You can upgrade a capacity, inventory capacity. That's a big one. You can upgrade stuff like lock picking, right? That's a very important, because there's like a medium level lock picking where you cannot engage in unless until you have the level 2, right, a lock picking ability. You can also lock pick things like a machine. No, you can hack into stuff. I think you can upgrade hacking as well. So you hack into Skynet kind of crates or Skynet gates, etc. Terminator: A Resistance. Now, in terms of the weapons and the enemies in the game, the weapons in the game are cool, very cool. Now, the basic weapons, like the human weapons, they're almost useless in most scenarios, as the Terminators, they're invulnerable, right, to human weapons like assault rifles, pistols, shotguns, etc. But like as you play at the game more and more, you're gonna gain access to Skynet weapons, and the Skynet weapons, they're very cool. Like the what was it? The R95 plasma rifle. That's like one of the main, one of the most common, pieces like in Terminator lore, right? So they're the ones that the T800s carry, and you can use it, right? Once you get at a certain level. So, they have the same sound design literally from the early movies, the exact same sound design. I'm like, whoa, this is cool. This is beyond cool. But the sound design is pretty cool. Weapons like trip mines, C4s, there's even like a plasma M14, a plasma sniper rifle, a rocket launcher, etc. In terms of enemies in the game, so the T800 enemies, the T825 enemies, the T400s, the drones, the massive hunter killer, kind of like a drone helicopter. There's like this massive tank, right, etc. There's other enemies in the game, like there's like these mines of like these kind of like these machine bugs, and they roll at you. They literally detonate if they get too close. So lots of enemies in the game that make the game super cool. Now I find, I feel the adrenaline like in my body, and the suspense, the frighten, like when I'm behind cover and then I see a T800 literally like on the other side of cover, and I'm trying not to get seen like in the game. Other stuff in the game, like in terms of the scale of the game, once you get to once you see like the Terminator, there's like this Terminator tank, right? But it's like it looks like a massive kind of machine, right? Like a massive bulldozer, a machine, but it's literally like a Terminator. You might have seen it back in the movie. So the scale of the game, in some moments can get big. As you move further and further, I thought the game is gonna get more difficult. You're gonna see, enemies. For example, certain enemies like in the game, you cannot use, a regular weapons against them. The T800s, like I said before, so you can only use the more Skynet weapons against them. Now going into other stuff in the game like questing, and now you are part of the human resistance. You do join the resistance, and they're similar to a Fallout game for side questing. So, like a Fallout game, for example, or Skyrim game, where an NPC will come up to you and ask you for help to find something for them, etc. And that becomes part of this side objective. It's only per area, right? So I think you can, through backtracking, you can, complete the earlier side objectives, etc. Now, the main game, has you going from mission to mission, kind of infiltrating areas and trying to find, secrets, like in this world, or trying to save somebody, etc. I was kind of worried early on in the game. I thought it was gonna be okay. I thought this was gonna okay, a boring quest line game. And like saying, do we really want to do that? But no, there's a lot of Terminator encounters in the game, so there is no worry there for that. In terms of visuals, presentation wise, now this is where the game falls flat. Now, I'm playing on the PS4 version, right? Because it was the only copy I could find in my city. It's not a common game in my area. Now, you can also play the PS4 and the PS5 version. Now, Terminator Resistance, in terms of like visuals, it's gonna lack the visual like a resolution. So in certain areas like the shading, the textures look very off. There is motion blur to the gameplay in fast moving sequences. Sometimes there's like a lag in the frame rate, so it's gonna look ugly. Now this is a 2019 game, I think, or 2020, so right at the end of the PS4 generation, so it's gonna obviously have those problems. There's a PS5 version of the game that I would imagine runs smoother. I saw a gameplay of it where, wow, this is much better than the PS4 version. It reminds me, I was playing Control, the other game, Control, from, what's the name of, I can't remember the company's name. Now, a Control suffers from the same problem as this in the visuals. So the visuals, motion blur, texture problems, etc. But in terms of sound design is very on point. You will get the awkward sound here and there, but in terms of the, like for example, the plasma rifle sounds very much like the movie. They capture the, Terminator movements. You can hear them like as they move. It sounds pretty cool, and they added in cool sound effects, like if you hack into a Skynet kind of terminal, and if you fail, there's a certain kind of, like, there's this cool arcade noise to it, and etc. So sound design wise, and the voice acting is pretty good, and other stuff in the game. It's not a very long game, but it's not a very short game, right? So this is a medium length, right? This is probably at the perfect length for a single player game. Now, a replayability, it depends how much you like the Terminator franchise. I'm a huge Terminator fan through and through, so I love seeing this game, right? And seeing a Terminator game like in the modern era. I heard they're making one for this year or the year after, right? So I'm not sure if you're gonna play as a Terminator or if it's gonna be like a multiplayer type game. But seeing one here, like a single player Terminator game in a modern era, is pretty cool, right? So $20, I got it for $15 or so. And you can get the PS5 version, I would imagine, for like $30, $40 depending. But yeah, GameStop, retro game stores, check them. Please like, share, subscribe.